So moving ahead, we have a session on cardiac surgery, and I would like to invite the moderator and chairpersons for this session, Dr. Ajit Pradhan sir, Dr. Arvind Kumar sir, Dr. Sanjeev sir, Dr. H.N. Prasad, Dr. Santosh Pandey, Dr. Sandeep Tirki, and Dr. Harendra Ojha. And the speakers are Dr. Kunal Krishna, Dr. Shilabnish, and Mohan sir, who will be speaking on different facets of cardiac surgery. I'll request Dr. Ajit Pradhan. Sir, are you here? Dr. Pradhan, sir? I'd seen him logging in. Dr. Sanjeev? I think we can go ahead with the talk then. Dr. Kunal Krishna from AIIMS Patna. I think, are you ready with your talk?
I'm ready with my talk.
Kunal?
Yeah, I'm ready with my talk, sir. Thank you, sir.
Kunal. So go ahead. I think you can go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, sir. And I thank all the chairpersons, the moderators, and CSI Bihar chapter to having been giving me this opportunity to just discuss upon this topic, which is the artificial heart devices, which are basically bridge to transplant. Directly going on to the topic, uh, I'd like to tell that this heart devices are basically the surgical management of chronic heart failure. Chronic heart failure has for years been treated by cardiologists and were being treated by medical management. But we as surgeons also do have something to offer in patients with chronic heart failure. The ultimate therapy for this is surgical treatment is heart transplant. But as all of us know that there are very few donors as against other transplants where we have liver transplant, renal transplants, which can be done easily by live donors also. But for heart transplants, we don't have the freedom of having live donors. It's only for cadaveric donors. So there comes the restriction for getting heart for heart transplant. So what do we do between these medical management and the end therapy, that is the heart transplant? So that is the topic, that is bridge to these transplants. Now, chronic heart failure, we know it is responsible for more deaths every year, more than all cancers combined. Approximately 50% of them die within 5 years, and more common above in people above 65 years of age. But practically anyone can be at the risk of this chronic heart failures, the various causes being CAD, myocarditis, abdominal heart rhythms, valvular heart diseases, obesity, etc. So cardiac transplantation is generally considered to be the best course and for best recourse for end stage chronic heart failures. However, due to short of supply, we have to depend upon these artificial heart devices, which are basically bridge to heart transplants. Now, these are called basically as cardiac assist devices. They are a safe and durable means of mechanical support system till the patient gets a heart for transplant. Now, this is a slide which shows gradually over the years the number of heart transplants have increased, but still they are not sufficient enough to support all the patients, the vast majority of chronic heart failure patients. In this slide also, you see that maximum of heart transplants occurs in is being done in North American continent. However, and Europe is just behind it. But we as the Asian population is way behind in doing number of heart transplants. And we see that survival after heart transplant gradually decreases after 5 to 10 years of age, and beyond to we have a 50% life expectancy about at around 10 years of age, 10 years from transplant. Now, so what do we do between these transplants? These are the various pictures which show you what is being done before a patient gets his heart transplanted. So there are various devices which you see in all age group, young guys, children, elderlies, who get this heart bridge to transplant devices. So the bridge to devices can be divided into two: bridge to device or a bridge to transplant. Bridge to devices where you implant something which can be used for a few hours to weeks, so that the patient can arrange for the more decisive therapy. So it lasts for hours to weeks as to means to stabilize the patients, and only about 25% of cases, typically 1 to 4 weeks post operation, 25% of these cases finally end up in devices actually. And the common bridge to devices is IABP and ECMO, where you can keep the patients in ECMO. You can keep the patients for 7 to 14 days maximum. Beyond that, it's very difficult to manage the patients. Then these bridge devices can also be used as bridge to transplants, which provide a circulatory support to patients in waiting list for heart transplant. And bridge to transplant devices do not last more longer than 2 years on an average. Today, much better outcome options are there, where as compared to mid 80s, when these devices were used only for a few months. In rare instances, there are which are difficult to predict. Some patients are while they are put on these bridge to transplants, they recover and develop good cardiac functions, and hence they do not require any further therapy. These are characterized as bridge to recovery, but these are very rare patients. Now we see that bridge to devices is, again, it has its own limitations as when it comes to how long it can be kept for transplants. Beyond 36 weeks, 36 months, gradually the survival of patient decreases to around 50%. So you have to be fast enough, and your resources should be fast enough so that the patient is shifted to transplant. Now, history of cardiac assist device. The first devices were called the first generation devices, which were actually pulsatile pumps. They were either pneumatically or electrically driven. There were larger pulsatile valves like HeartMate 15E, which was developed by Thoratrek, then Berlin Heart XCore. These are large, very heavy sizes, and they have the driving units was placed externally outside the body, and only the tubings were placed inside the body. So they could be used for basically ventricular assist devices, as right ventricular assist devices, and biventricular assist devices. Left ventricular assist devices used to take blood from the left ventricle apex, and they used to develop to the ascending aorta. So it restores the extrapulmonary perfusion, and thus helps in reversing the pathological remodeling. In addition to maintaining the cardiac output, they also helps, they reduce the load on the LV, and thus prevents that remodeling. So these are basically Novacor Alvas, HeartMate 1, and Thoratic PVAD. Now, same devices were also used for right ventricle as assist devices in patients with acute myocardial infarction, pulmonary embolism, pulmonary hypertension, myocarditis, or post-cardiotomy shocks, cardiac transplants. Some devices were like Syncardia, Impella RP, and Tandem Heart. Now, when these assist devices were placed on both the ventricles, it was called as bivets, and they were again limited by their bulkiness, because the main device was placed outside the body, which had to be connected to both the ventricles and aorta to the pulmonary, all pulmonary artery also. There were very few, and were not much became much successful. That was Abiomed BVS 5000, Berlin Heart XCore, and Meadows High HIA VADS. Then came the latest in this group is the total artificial heart. The first total artificial heart implantation was performed in 1969, which was Jarvik 70H. However, it was not very successful and was able to support the patient for 112 days. Now, then the CardioVest, that is Syncana, Abiocor, are examples of total have been used clinically. Then came the second generations, which were continual axial flows. So they were not able to maintain a pulsatile flow. They were again limited by large sizes, and they had high noise emissions and durability issues, leading to frequent malfunctions and morbidities. Thoratec introduced a VAD in 2001 called HeartMate 2, which was 1/7 of the size and 1/4 of the weight of the original HeartMate, and hence this became very popular and was largely used. It was integrating a valveless axial pump with a viable variable magnetic field designed to rapidly spin a single impeller and produce continuous outflow directly. 600 patients received this HeartMate 2 LVADs, and they had about 85% of survival at 1 year of age. HeartMate 2 received FDA approval in as bridge to transplant in 2008, and there were various companies like Medtronic came up with Hemopump, Reliant Heart in Houston EU came up with Heart Assist 5, Javik 2000 became very famous, and they basically relied on extracorporeal power source and required patients to undergo constant anticoagulation therapy. Third generations were continuous centrifugal pumps where the axis of the flow and the axial axis of rotation were perpendicular. So now 99% of these VATs are third generation VATs. They basically use magnetic or hydrodynamic levitations of the impeller with non-contact bearings, and its outflow tract is directed perpendicular to the axis of deviation. Thus, it helps in reducing this device size, noise emission, and infection rates also. Some of the device which were used in as third became famous as third generation device was hardware had HVAD. Then HeartMate 3 became very popular. Then others like Centrimag, Incor, Levacore, and DuraHeart. Hardware HVAD and HeartMate 3 received FDA approval for long-term mechanical supports in 2017 and 18. The only problems with these devices were like complications like right heart failure, the infections, thrombosis, hemolysis, and neurological events. Now, this is a graph showing how much of these centrifugal pumps were continuous flow isolated LVADs and continuous flow intracorporeal isolated LVADs, axial and centrifugal were used. Means now you see the centrifugal pumps have started replacing the axial pumps. This is the basic diagram where which shows you the first generation pulsatile flow pumps, which is the figure A, and figure B shows the integrated valve axial pumps. And this is a timeline how all of these devices gradually developed over year. 1960, we had the first artificial ventricles implanted. Then 1980s, we had the first generation pulsatile pumps. Second generations came in 2000, and 2007 we had the third generations. The various pictures of various LVADs, RVADs, BiVADs, these were the first generation. Second generation was HeartMate 2, and third generation were HeartMate 3. Now, latest in this group, where the recent most latest development is the CarMat has developed a total artificial heart, which is called as ASON, and it's composed of implantable bioprosthesis and a portable external power and it has a portable external power supply system. The artificial heart developed by CarMat is implantable prosthetic valve, a prosthetic that includes biological valves derived from bovine tissues. So when you come to the clinical setting, this cardiac assist devices, they can be as short-term circulatory support, as I said earlier, which consists of ECMOs, which is very popular nowadays, but they are very used for very short terms. The complication rates are high as occurrence of bleeding and infection reaches about 40% and 31%. There are incidents of neurological injuries, hemorrhage, immunosuppressions, and then Abiomed Impella catheter is an intravascular microassist device where blood pump that provides it has a blood pump that provides partial circulatory support for few hours to 1 month maximum. Then we have other devices like Impella 2.5, Impella CP, Impella 5, which produces flow rates of about 2.5 liters, 3.5 liters, and 5 liters. IABP was actually one of the earliest cardiac assist devices. Cardiac assist devices for extended use were like HeartMate 2, which is second generation axial flow pump, which was developed used by 6 patients. Then hearts to become the devices of choice for either bridge to transplant or destination therapy. And because of their mechanical reliability and pumping efficiency, and battery life have increased to 2 year survival rates to about 80%. SynCardia CardioVest total assist artificial heart is the world's first and only commercially approved total artificial heart. Here it replaces the two ventricles, where two artificial ventricles are sutured to the patient's aorta and pulmonary artery, and they eject the blood through unidirectional valve via pneumatically driven diaphragm. Now, coming on to the complications of this cardiac assist devices, the most common of them is infections, pump thrombosis, bleeding, GI bleeding because of various reasons, because patients are on anticoagulants, there are shear strain and damage of these platelets, which will lead to GI bleeds. Then some very other devices such as ventricular arrhythmias, right heart failure. Less common complications are like device alarms and malfunction. Notices can cause severe level of anxiety and considerable reduced patient compliance and quality of life. And sometimes there have been reports of sudden battery exhaustion, which have resulted in death of the patients. Now, this is a picture where you shows that external VAT components where the patient is carrying the bag, which is basically the battery support. For long-term, there have been innovations for effective long-term cardiac supports. The first innovation, the most important innovation which needs to be done is in alternative power settings, power methods, because these cardiac assist devices has to be run, needs a power source which has to be a battery which is placed outside the body, cannot be placed inside the body. So there have been attempts where these power sources have been placed inside the body, like a nuclear powered device in 1980s, but because of dangers of element leakage and safety concerns, they have to be stopped. Then again, a small lightweight spring coupled C-core solenoid was first introduced, but it was not very successful. Then transcutaneous energy transfer system, where the energy recipient is just under the skin, and the energy dispenser is outside the skin. So there is no actual contact and outlet through the skin. Thus, it helps in reducing the infection rates. But these are very difficult because sometimes when the power source is kept at a distance, it may reduce the power supply to the device, and thus can cause sudden deaths also. Then came the inductive coupling TET outperformers. Others were more than double in terms of efficiency. They used in devices like ABioCord Total Artificial Heart, which was FDA approved as a permanent TH for humanitarian use in 2007. 30 days survival rate was 71% with no device related infections. Significantly limited by its power transmission range, since the transmit and receive coil must remain very close. Then we had innovations of muscle powered VATs, where electrically stimulated skeletal muscle as an endogenous source of power can be used. They were converting the converted contractile energy of the muscle into a hydraulic power, and they are controlled by pacemaker like device implanted beneath the skin. So the most common muscle used was latissimus dorsi muscle due to its large size, surgical accessibility, and proximity to the thoracic cavity. Steady state working capacity sufficient for long-term cardiac support. Then we had again, because these devices need to be come in contact with directly with the blood of the patient, so anticoagulants will be needed. So there were attempts where non-blood contacting cardiac devices can be also used. There were two types, three types basically. The first one was copulsation direct cardiac compressive sleeves, which were intrinsically pulsatile and can be programmed to deliver energy to the bloodstream during cardiac systole, and they can restore cardiac output by 88%. They're still in stages of animal testing. Then there were counterpulsing direct cardiac compression sleeves, which were used to deliver energy during the diastolic phase of the cardiac cycle. And they're basically extra aortic balloon pumps that compresses the aorta from as external source, like which was one of the common devices we know is C-pulse device. Then we have the passive periventricular restraint devices, where the entire epicardial surface is wrapped by a sleeve-like prosthetic to provide circumferential diastolic support to the failing heart, and it helps in reducing the wall stress and myocardial oxygen consumption, thus prevents vascular remodeling. Few devices were Econ sleeve paracord device. Neither produced very significant improvement in the patient's survival and quality of life, so they were taken off. Now coming out to LVAD patient management, assessing the pump flow, normal range is between 4 to 6 liter per minute. These patients remain asymptomatic. Suboptimal patients becomes symptomatic in the form of dizziness, lightheadedness, fatigue, change in loss of consciousness. Low flows less than 2.5 liter per minute. Again, they are very symptomatic patients. Various studies were done, like randomized evaluation of mechanical assistance for treatment of congestive heart failure. It shows that survival rates have improved nearly to 80% 1 year after primary implantation due to combination of refinements. And 2018 endurance supplemental trial concluded, which showed that ideal form of destination therapy should provide effective and comfortable long-term mechanical support. Then there was a Momentum 3 trial, which was done for 2 years, and it showed that compared the performance between HeartMate and HeartMate 2 and HeartMate 3, which definitely showed that HeartMate 3 was better as compared to HeartMate 2. And in terms of bridge to transplant and destination therapy. Now, finally, one line about total artificial heart. It is pumps surgically implanted to provide biventricular cardiac support. A difference between VATS and TATs is a ventricular assist device is usually pulseless, while artificial heart is pulsatile. ECG shows native rhythm. Here, there is no ECG because the ventricles are replaced by the artificial heart. Pulse oximetry is inaccurate in ventricular assist device, where it is accurate in total artificial heart. Do not use NTG in ventricular assist devices, where but total artificial heart you have to use NTG to use systolic pressure. 2 minutes, 1 minute, sir. Consult. Yes, sir. Just 1 minute. Now this is a picture of about Thoratec HeartMate 3. This is a HeartMate 2 system, and now to conclude, the remarkable amount of research and development has been performed in an effort to improve and expand the field of cardiac assist device. Unique set of strengths and weaknesses, but all designed with one common goal in mind: provide safe. There is reason to expect that many improvements will be implemented in not distant futures. Step up the challenges. With this, thank you. Yes. Any questions?
I think because of the paucity of time, we'll straight away move on to the next session on minimally invasive cardiac surgery. First, I must like to thank the organizers of Cardiocon to invite me for this important session on minimally invasive cardiac surgery. Just a word before I hand over to Dr. Sheila Vanish. Minimally invasive cardiac surgery has grown in popularity the last 10 to 15 years. Probably first started by Dr. Carpentier about 20 years ago. It was encouraged by the success of minimally invasive surgery, results of minimally invasive surgery in other branches of surgery, and the benefits of decreased pain and reduced surgical trauma. The early enthusiasm of minimally invasive cardiac surgery was tempered by the concern over the reduced surgical exposure and prolonged operative times, prolonged bypass time. But with innovations and rapid learning curve, we have been able to get over it, and it's a well-accepted procedure now, being performed regularly across the country. Even at our place, at Jeevak Heart Hospital, we have been doing minimally invasive valve surgery routinely for the last 3 years. And in fact, most patients undergoing valve replacements undergo a minimally invasive valve surgery through a small mini thoracotomy on peripheral cannulation. We, in India, we have formed a society called Society of Minimally Invasive Thoracic and Cardiovascular Surgery. It was founded by 12 of us somewhat 5 years ago. Dr. Yugal Mishra is our present president. I happen to be the founding executive member of this Society of Minimally Invasive Cardiothoracic Surgeons of India. And we are going to have our 5th annual meeting, which is going to be both live as well as virtual meeting on the 24th and 25th of September. And I take out this opportunity to inviting you to join this minimally invasive meeting, which is in association with the International Society of Minimally Invasive Cardiothoracic Surgeons. Our endeavor in this society is to encourage and impart the younger generation for the minimally invasive cardiac surgery, so that more and more people start practicing this minimally invasive cardiac surgery, which actually for any cardiac surgeon who's done an ample number of cardiac surgery, it's not a big deal. This learning curve is not that steep, especially quite a fair number of surgeons across the country are doing valve replacements and ASDs through minimally invasive surgery. The trick is instrumentation has improved so much that it's become sort of, the learning curve is not that great. We need to be limited. We need to be working through a limited access and peripheral cannulation. And when it comes to mid-cap or robotics, there we require a more higher learning curve. I'll invite Dr. Sheila Vanish to deliberate on this topic. Dr. Sheila Vanish is a dynamic surgeon, cardiac surgeon, who did his MCH in cardiovascular and thoracic surgery from All India Institute of Medical Science, New Delhi. He's presently additional professor and head of the Department of IGIMS. I'm delighted to share with you that he started the cardiovascular and thoracic surgery program in IGIMS in the year 2018. Dr. Sheila Vanish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ajit, sir. And I think you have given a brief overview of minimal invasive cardiac surgeries. Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are, Akhil.
Okay.
Very much audible.
So I thank the organizing team of the Cardiacon and this whole academic feast of the cardiologist. We cardiac surgeons, we have some contributions. So I'm not taking much of a time. I'll go to the direct presentation of my today's topic. I'm Dr. Sheila Vanish, as Dr. Ajit has already introduced. I'm heading the Department of Cardiothoracic at IGIMS. Today, the topic of discussion for mine is minimal invasive cardiac surgery. That is a mix, which is something which is more upcoming for cardiac surgeons, and it is something which is the newer thing which all the cardiac surgeons are looking forward. And now, before going to the minimal invasive cardiac surgery, we should know what is basically the need for minimal invasive cardiac surgery. So before we go into that, we need to discuss about the traditional approach for cardiac surgery. The traditional approach for cardiac surgery means median sternotomy, approaching the heart by splitting the sternum. That is the first thing which we have been practicing since long, and it's still being practiced in most of the cases, and it is time tested. It is the gold standard for doing a cardiac surgery. But we need to deviate from this, go from a total traditional approach of cardiac surgery to a minimal invasive cardiac surgery, and what was the need for it. So advantages associated with the traditional approach, it is very familiar and very comfortable with surgeon because everything is in front of the surgeon. As you open the split the sternum, the whole thing is in front of you, the whole cardiac structures, the great vessels, the aorta, the IVC, SVC. So you can take a good control of the heart. You can do the surgery in a very controlled fashion. So it is a very easy and comfortable way. All the surgeries can be performed comfortably by any new surgeons even. The pericardial and extracardiac repairs can be performed. It allows the full control on circulation and oxygenation. It provides the ideal operating condition. So this is how it looks while doing a traditional approach. You can see the whole heart is in front of you. Once you split the sternum, the whole heart is in front of you. You can see how the cannulations are being performed, because we need to cannulate the heart before going into cardiopulmonary bypass. This is a basic thing which is required. So for cannulation, we need to have an access to the venous system as well as the arterial system. So in this case, as we can see, the venous system is being cannulated separately. The IVC as well as the SVCs are cannulated separately. The aorta is cannulated, the aortic cannulation. So this is how we do in a traditional way, traditional approach for a cardiac surgery. This is how it looks on the field, how it looks on the operating table, that these are the cannulas, where you can see the two venous cannulas on the inferior side, the IVC and the SVC, and the aortic cannula on the superior side. But what are the disadvantages? Why you have to go for minimal invasive? Why you have to look for minimal invasive cardiac surgery? The first and foremost is the pain. The pain associated with the sternal injury, the sternal wound, is the pain, and subsequently the increased blood loss and the healing time. So as soon as the bone is involved, the sternum is involved, the whole things of arrays of disturbances like a long-standing pain is there. There's an increased blood loss. The healing period is 4 to 6 weeks. And the most dreaded complication for a cardiac surgeon is a sternal wound complication such as sternal dehiscence or a sternal wound infection, and cosmetically non-appealing. These are the disadvantages of traditional approach, why we have to look forward to a minimal invasive cardiac surgery. This is how a surgeon would not look into a patient whom he has operated. This is a sternal dehiscence with a wound infection. This is a nightmare for a cardiac surgeon to have a patient with this. So this is the reason why we have to move towards minimal invasive cardiac surgery. So what is minimal invasive? By definition, it's an approach for treatment of surgical cardiac disease using an incision other than midline stenotomy. So any approach other than the midline stenotomy is a minimal invasive cardiac surgery approach. So it is of different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Mini incisions, direct vision, micro incision, video assisted, micro or port incision, video directed, and level 4 is port incision, robotic instrument, and video directed. So these are the different levels of minimal invasive cardiac surgery. As you can see in this image, so the traditional open heart surgery incision on the chest bone, you can see the sternum, the whole incision, big incision line is there on the midline. Similarly, for the minimal invasive, same surgery, for minimal invasive cardiac surgery, you can see the wound, the midline is spared in both the patients. There is a scar on the left side for a bypass, coronary artery bypass grafting surgery, whereas a scar on the left side for valvular heart surgery, mitral valve, or a right atrial surgeries. This is how the traditional approach versus the minimal invasive cardiac approach. You can see in the traditional approach, the whole structure, the heart is in front of you. You have retracted the sternum. You have easily, you can cannulate the aorta, the IVC, SVC. So it is very easy for any beginner cardiac surgeon also to start off with a traditional approach. But once you see in the minimal invasive cardiac surgery, since the midline is not been touched, so you have to cannulate through some other access, and that is through the femoral route. The femoral artery and femoral venous cannulation is the primary route through which we go into the bypass, that is the femoral bypass, and then we do a thoracotomy for your desired surgery. This is how the traditional approach, cannulations are being performed. The heart is cannulated separately into SVC, IVC, the aorta is cannulated, patient is taken into cardiopulmonary bypass. But whereas, vis-a-vis, in the minimal invasive cardiac surgery, as you can see, the cannulation is performed through an open technique or a closed technique in the femoral artery. The femoral artery and femoral veins are cannulated for instituting cardiopulmonary bypass. Before undergoing any surgery, we need to undergo cardiopulmonary bypass. So the access in minimal invasive is mostly femoral route, and then you can see the ports. The access is through the thoracotomy wound. Either there is a main thoracotomy wound and there are subsequent ports through which we access the heart. Now, how the advances in minimal invasive cardiac surgery has has occurred. This has occurred because of so many imaging technologies which have come up, like intraop, transesophageal echo guidance placement of catheters, the cardiopulmonary bypass. There is smaller cannulas, negative venous drainage systems have been developed. The instrument, long instrument, which are comfortable for minimal invasive. They are cardiac stabilizers, the endoscopes, robotic equipments are there. So these are the things which have facilitated the surgeons to move towards minimal invasive cardiac surgery. Without these advancement, it would not have been possible to move ahead for doing a minimal invasive cardiac surgery. Now, I'd just like to discuss a brief evolution. Already Dr. Ajit has briefed about something about our minimal invasive. The minimal invasive cardiac surgery had started somewhere around in mid-90s when Cosgrove and Cohn independently started the first minimal invasive mitral valve surgery. That is the first instance when the minimal invasive cardiac surgery had been started. The approach in their case was a parasternal and hemi-stenotomy. The second major milestone was by Carpentier in 1996 when he did the video-assisted mitral valve repair through a mini thoracotomy. Similarly, the first video directed in the same period, first video directed mitral valve replacement through and the transthoracic aortic clamp was done by Chikwood, after whose name the aortic clamp, transthoracic aortic clamp also being named. And it was in 1998, Leipzig group described the first minimal invasive MIS approach and voice activated robotic assistant mitral valve surgeries. Similarly, in 1998, Carpentier did the first completely robotic mitral valve repair using Da Vinci surgical system, which is the robotic system still used in the most of the centers where they have the robotic cardiac surgery being accomplished. So what are the advantages of minimal? So why do you have to go for a minimal invasive cardiac surgery? Because it is cosmetically better. Most of the patient, the cosmetic look, because the incisions are on the thoracic side, it's not exposed and not in the midline. And the other important factors which are associated is less painful, less blood loss, and rapid healing. These are all factors associated with sternotomy. Since sternotomy is bypassed in most of the minimal invasive cardiac surgery, so it's a less painful affair, it's less blood loss, and healing, since sternum is not involved, healing is within 2 weeks. And the most important is avoidance or minimization of sternal wound complication, which is a very dreaded complication which leads to mediastinitis and a nightmare for the patient as well as the surgeon. And for the surgeon, it is a patient has a reduced post-operative ICU and a hospital stay, and it fits into the budget of the patient as far as the hospital stay and the ICU is concerned. But what are the disadvantages? What are the difficulties of minimal invasive cardiac surgery? It is that it's technically more demanding. This surgery, it's not as simple as a traditional approach. It is technically more demanding because the approach is limited. So it requires more trained and specialized center, and it is expensive, and it is not appropriate for most of the patients. What are the patients which can undergo a minimal invasive cardiac surgery? So these are the isolated cardiac disease like aortic valve replacement, mitral valve repair and replacements, coronary artery bypass grafting, LV pacing leads, complex ASDs, where we can use the minimal invasive techniques. For these high risk patients also can be used for minimal risk because of less surgical insult. In case of complex redo cardiac surgery patients also, because of the sternal adherence with the cardiac thing, it is better to go for a minimal invasive approach. The contraindications for a minimal invasive cardiac surgery is morbid obesity, previous lung surgeries and infection, because these things will hamper the approach or the access to the heart. So in these cases, the access to the heart will be difficult for a surgeon to mobilize the heart and other structures. Severe LV dysfunction again is a contraindication for minimal invasive cardiac surgery. And the most important is associated other valvular or coronary problems. So if there is multiple disease in a patient, then in that case, minimal invasive cardiac surgery has its difficulty and it cannot be accomplished. The different approaches for minimal invasive cardiac surgery, which is routinely being used, is right anterolateral mini thoracotomy. It's mostly for the mitral valve surgeries, tricuspid valve surgeries, ASD closure, atrial tumor, myxoma, and other surgeries. As you can see, this is the right atrial thoracotomy incision for all those surgeries which have mitral, tricuspid, myxoma surgeries. And this is the mini sternotomy for aortic valve surgeries. So this is upper mini sternotomy for aortic valve surgeries. Similarly, the left anterolateral thoracotomy for mid-cap, that is a minimal invasive coronary artery bypass grafting. These are the different, I have already shown the scars which will happen after the surgery. Minimal invasive ASD closure, just a brief overview of the steps of how things have been done. I've already mentioned that femoral cannula, fem bypass, that is the femoral arterial and venous cannulation, femoral bypass is constituted, and through the right anterolateral thoracotomy, in the fourth intercostal space, the heart is accessed. So you have a 6 centimeter anterolateral thoracotomy through which you do the SVC cannulation, you do the major surgery, the ASD closure through that thoracotomy approach. Similarly for mitral valve, again the same things, the femoral cannulation. The approach is fourth intercostal space, the incision is slightly bigger. You do the cannulation, SVC direct cannulation through the thoracotomy and from the posterior approach, that is after Saunders group, we go through the LA and do the routine mitral valve surgeries. This is how we go approach for a mitral valve repair. We have a main thoracotomy incision. We have an incision at the third intercostal space somewhere here for placing the cross clamp, and this is the port for assisting us in the surgery. I'll not go much into detail. This is for minimal invasive aortic valve replacement. In this case, instead of thoracotomy, we have an upper mini sternotomy, where through which we do the RA cannulation, we do the ascending aortic cannulation, and through which we do the aortic valve replacements. It's not the full sternotomy; it's only the upper 2/3 of the sternum which is incised. Now we come to the minimal invasive coronary artery bypass grafting, which is slightly more difficult. So in this case, you can see the left anterolateral thoracotomy approach is being taken. The lima is harvested through that thoracotomy, and through this, we have different ports through which we access the stabilizer, cardiac stabilizer, be starfish or octopus, to stabilize the heart for doing the coronary anastomosis. So in this, we go for fem bypass, femoral cannulation for constituting cardiopulmonary bypass. So this is how mid-cap is done. This is how the instruments which are designed separately for minimal invasive cardiac surgeries. We have octopus novo, starfish, and thoracic MICS retractors. These are the retractors and how they are positioned for a minimal invasive cardiac surgery for coronary artery bypass grafting. This again, the comparison between a traditional approach where we directly approach through the sternotomy, and the difficulty of approaching the heart for any surgery, especially the coronary artery bypass grafting through a thoracotomy wound on the left side, is slightly difficult. I'll just show a video of a mid-cap surgery where the left fourth intercostal space through which we are entering into the thorax. Through this approach, first we'll once we have positioned our retractor, we try to harvest the lima. So you can see how much is the space. So there is a limitation of the space. So it needs a technical expertise to mobilize a structure like lima, which is a very fragile, long vessel, which has to be harvested from the sternal notch till the bifurcation lower down, that is the epigastric area. So that is the long length of lima which has to be harvested through this. So it's technically challenging and slightly difficult, but it is the need of the hour. So we got to be trained in this. So once the lima is harvested, the pericardium is opened for the anastomosis. As you can see, the pericardium is being laid open longitudinally parallel to the phrenic nerve. Now the lima is being, so once the pericardium is mobilized, it is fixed, and now you can see how the lima is being mobilized and brought to the target vessel, that is the left anterior descending artery. So once the lima has been mobilized and brought near to the target vessel, that is the left anterior descending artery, which you can see very well in this video, that the left anterior descending artery, where the anastomosis between LAD and the lima has to be performed. So this, you can see in the expert hand, the surgery looks very easy and comfortable, but it's not that comfortable, as I will show in the next slide that how difficult the picture is. So you can see how complex the picture looks once you're doing the surgery. The whole, there's a gamut of instruments around, and you have to work out through those instruments and get the surgery done. But in the expert hands, this is not very difficult. But now coming to the very important thing, that though we are discussing about minimal invasive, but the percentage of the acceptance and application of MICS in our country is very low as compared to European countries. As you can see, Germany, it has 50% acceptance. That means the isolated valvular heart procedures in Germany, they are 50% are being done through MICS, whereas in India, it's only 4%. As I'll show you in the next slide, the number of valvular heart surgeries being performed annually in our country is 58,000. Coronary is 95,000 and congenital surgery is 40,000, but only 4% valvular heart surgeries are being performed through MICS. So we have a huge scope. We need to increase our MICS, but the technical hurdle what we have is the logistics, the infrastructure which is involved, and the basics. So many centers have to come up for the training of new budding surgeons in minimal invasive cardiac surgery, because there is a learning curve for any surgical thing. So minimal invasive cardiac surgery has a huge potential in India, because we are catering so many cases, but those cases are being conducted mostly through traditional approach. Now, lastly, I'd like to conclude that enabling technologies like robotic, that is the Da Vinci robot, which I have already mentioned, where the surgeon sits on the console and there is an assistant who is there with the robotic arms, which is helping in the surgery, replacing the instrument. This is how the endoscopes, and this is how the utility of the robot in IMA preparation, pericardotomy, anastomosis. With this, I conclude, and I look forward that MICS, minimal invasive cardiac surgery, has a huge potential in our scenario, in our state as such. So we look forward for going ahead with these surgeries in future. Thank you. Thank you for. So with this, I conclude my thing. If there's any query or question regarding?
Thank you, Dr. Sheel Avnish, for a very excellent lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Thanks a lot. So
We
I
can
hope-
move to the second.
Yeah, I think we can next to
Any questions from the audience regarding minimally invasive cardiac surgery, Dr. Sheel Avnish?
I think it's a cardiologist forum, so I don't expect much of a question from cardiologists regarding. Yes, it was just an aware program for them that minimal invasive something which is upcoming, and we can go ahead with this. The patients can be more compliant and move for cardiac surgery rather than going for a cardiological intervention. On a lighter note.
No, I just a word about one of the things that you mentioned was patients who had associated valvular problem and coronary problems. We are doing this hybrid minimally invasive surgery for these patients, subsets of patients as well. So we did one minimally invasive valve surgery, replaced the mitral valve through minimally invasive, and subjected the patient to the same sitting for a stenting. That's a accepted procedure now.
Hybrid procedures can be done. Hybrid procedure definitely can be done with this.
Hybrid is a great thing actually.
Yes.
But actually, we'll end up making friends with the cardiologists. We're not a very friendly lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chalo. So, Steve is there, Sanjeev is there, and we are not able to get the talk of Manmohan. So we take the talk delivered, Steve, and Sanjeev, people can throw some light.
Congratulations, sir, for organizing such a wonderful conference and academic fest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you. Kunal has just spoken.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, then take the session as over one. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who participated. Right? चलो अपना जीवी बुलाओ। जीवी बुलाइए। क्या? हो गया? अरे सुनो ना, हॉल बी में करा दो सब। बाकी बोलो भाई उसमें करवा दो दीजिए ना कम से कम अच्छा बिल्कुल बाहर से बुलाना है सर बुलाना है डॉक्टर डीपी सिंह you join here join hall A B में दिख रहा है डॉक्टर डीपी सिंह क्या भाई बिगड़े यस सर हाँ डॉक्टर एस एस चटर्जी है सर ज्वाइन डॉक्टर डीपी सिंह डॉक्टर डीपी सिंह नहीं ज्वाइन कर रहा इलेक्शन रिजल्ट भेजा है इसमें जो है ना ऑनलाइन ऑनलाइन हो जाएगा ऑल इन में Carry on with the live in Holiday. Holiday meeting is going on. Yes. Yes. Close it for the audience. Only the officials should be participating in the close it for the delegates, close it for other people.
ऐसा भी लोग बनाओ फील्ड बना पाना चाहिए ये तरीका उनकी बहुत धीरे धीरे डेवलप कर रही है जैसे अभी जो पार्टी जो बने ना इलेक्शन अफसर को जो नॉमिनेशन फाइल होता है तो स्क्रूटनी कमेटी भी रहना चाहिए एनीवे डीपीसी साहब ज्वाइन कर लिए डॉक्टर चटर्जी साहब आई
कौन सर आर यू हियरिंग अस डॉक्टर चटर्जी सर
सर का अनम्यूट करना हो
किनको करो ना भैया
वहीं से बोलना होगा सर बोलना होगा
डॉक्टर चटर्जी
हो गया
डॉक्टर जीवी आपके आपके परमिशन से हम लोग जीवी को कॉल कर रहे हैं जीवी हैज बीन कन्वेंट एंड election result for the next session is being announced. President for session 2021-22 Dr. Virendra Prasad Sinha. Give a big hand. Dr. Virendra Prasad Sinha sir is sitting here. President elect for 2020-23 Dr. A.K. Jha. Is he online? आपको यहाँ होना चाहिए था ना कम से कम वहां से हाथ जोड़ रहे हैं कैसा प्रेसिडेंट रहिएगा आप वहां से जो हाथ जोड़ रहे हैं यहाँ आना चाहिए चलिए बधाई हो आपको भी वाइस प्रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर संजीव कुमार वाइस एंड नेक्स्ट डॉक्टर हेमशंकर शर्मा भागलपुर ऑनरेरी सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर संदीप कुमार इज ऑनलाइन इज नॉट ऑनलाइन क्या कर रहे हैं and editor Bihar Journal of Cardiology Dr. Ravi Vishnu Prasad. Ravi Vishnu Prasad Hall B Metro. Anyway, so this is the election result for the approval of GB. I think there is President Mahoday का आदेश हो हम लोग इसको सर्वसम्मति से आज इलेक्शन रिजल्ट है जेबी अप्रूव करती है आप अनम्यूट करिए जेपी से अपने को अनम्यूट करिए
But Vice President Mahoday, our quorum is not complete.
So we have postponed the meeting. We'll call after 5 minutes.
You have to postpone the meeting for 1 or 2 minutes and then you again convene the meeting. Yes, sir.
Yes. Postpone the meeting for 5 minutes. आपका व्यवस्था का प्रश्न अच्छा है, ठीक है। व्यवस्था का ही प्रश्न है, कानूनी प्रश्न। इसे कोरम पूरा नहीं है, बस पोस्टपोन कर देना। तो कुछ बोलो सेक्रेटरी कितने लोग हैं देखिए तो उसमें कितने लोग पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं
19 है सर जस्ट जो दिख रहे हैं उतना ही है 3 नहीं वही है सर
19 दिख रहा है 19
all are mute sir
19 में enterprises मिला के है सर और
अच्छा फिर द मीटिंग
we shall do it but we shall reconvene it what is the number
GB is again being reconvened and election result is again being announced.
Yes.
वही वाला आपको ही वाला President 2021-22 Dr. Virendra Prasad Sinha.
Again congratulations.
Thank you. President elect 2022-23 Dr. A.K. Jha. Vice President 2021-23 Dr. Sanjeev Kumar. Sanjeev.
सबों को बधाई
Dr. Hemshankar Sharma from Bhagalpur. Honorary Secretary Dr. Sandeep Kumar 2021-23. एडिटर नहीं हम तो आए ही नहीं एडिटर बिहार जर्नल ऑफ कार्डियोलॉजी 2021-23 डॉक्टर रवि विष्णु प्रसाद नाउ
Now, I think Dr. DP Singh, आप वहीं से चार मती होकर दीजिए, हम लोग वीरेंद्र जी को ये माला पहरा देंगे।
अरे हम ये उनको वीरेंद्र जी को AK झा, संजीव, नीरव सबको जो है काफी कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस।
थैंक यू सर।
आप जो है ये जितने भी लोग हैं तो मेरा जो है फेयरवेल स्पीच सुनिएगा, देन आई विल हैंड ओवर द चार्ज। You have not listened my farewell speech. आप जो सुनिए आप जो है इनॉग्रल सेशन में हम 1 मिनट बोले, इतना 1 साल हमने काम किया। You have to listen.
Yes, sir.
We are ready to listen, sir.
Then I will hand over the charge. You have to listen what we have done.
Start.
आप प्रेसिडेंट साहब जिस लेपुटेमिया पे इतना बोले और इतना अच्छा सुना।
No, that was another thing.
You can get
Mr. BP Singh, please listen to me. You have to listen my speech.
Let him listen.
Farewell speech. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Then I will hand over the charge to him. I have already congratulated him, all the office bearers. Yes. So, dear friends, my honorable senior Dr. S.S. Chatterjee sir, Dr. BP Singh, National Vice President, my young friends in this organizing committee like B.B. Bharti, Dr. Nishant Tripathi, Dr. Abhinav Bhagat, my dynamic secretary, and all the friends who are not present here but supposed to be present here, all the CSI members of Bihar. This is God is merciful to us, and He has chosen this day to hand over the charge to my able friend, Dr. BP Sinha, and the secretary, Dr. Sandeep Kumar. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this great occasion. My last day as a president of CSI Bihar, I have worked with you, with your blessings, with your cooperation, with your guidance throughout the day from 17th July 2020, and then today, this is the 1st August, the great International Friendship Day. And I want to express my love, gratitude, sincere thanks to all of you on this great occasion. I also want to thank all my seniors, starting from our legendary Dr. S.N. Arya, Dr. B.V. Thakur, my guru, Dr. D.K. Srivastav, Dr. Kamlesh Tiwari, Dr. U.C. Shamal, Dr. R.K. Agrawal, and throughout this year, one friend, his name is very similar, Dr. B.P. Singh, always throughout, so energetic, so full of energy. Every time I used to ask him, Dr. B.P. Singh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And every time he was very much cooperative to us. And I also want to thank you, Dr. Ajay Sinha, for all the cooperations he has done, and Riyaz, very much helpful. And you have not seen even our this CSI website also, although it was to be operated, inaugurated by Dr. P.K. Dev. But have you seen all my members who are present here? We have seen that CSI website, it because ably written by our Dr. S.S. Chatterjee, the introduction and others, and other things that has been well depicted by Dr. Dravesh. Sir, before I will leave and hand over the charge to my friend, are you listening, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to share few slides before you what I have done throughout the year. Few slides. So may I have the sharing slides? Yes. What is that? Yes. This is the CSI activity throughout the year, and this is compiled by me. And you see, my dynamic secretary, Dr. Abhinav Bhagat, Dr. BP Singh is always with us. Dr. Ajay Sinha throughout the year helped me in all the academic activities. What had happened? Yes. This is all. I don't know what has happened to all the slides. Oh, okay, but slides was there, but I don't know what has happened to that slides. Okay, but in that all the depiction was there, that we started the academic session in which Dr. S.S. Chatterjee participated, that the clinical cardiology, and then we have got fantastic session in the preventive cardiology. We are also many seminars that we have done throughout the year, plus even the one was the session how to write a good paper and where the national faculties were involved. Plus we have also this registry, Presco registry is on, and we have nominated Dr. Ajay Sinha as the state's chief for the state registry, and in which we are going to announce, and that message that I want to give this incumbent president, Dr. VP Sinha, that atrial fibrillation registry, then ACS registry, this heart failure registry, that should be there. Even this dyslipidemia registry should be started, and we shall together make Bihar registry a great success. And with that, thank you very much for all the cooperation and all the. I will I will end the slide where to stop sharing, but I couldn't see the slides. Yes, okay. And then I wish the final. I hand over the mantle, and on behalf of me, Dr. BP Singh and all friends sitting in that hall will hand over the mantle to him. Dr. BP Singh, and yeah.
Just a minute. Dr. DP Singh, your farewell address was very, very informative. And on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for the activity all the time since you joined. You have started the academic activity, created the website of the Bihar CSI. So your tenure was full of activity. We really appreciate and want to give a big hand to Dr. DP Singh, and you already made active.
I want to put on record for the very active and very enthusiastic role of Dr. DP Singh during his tenure, and he was full of action, full of energy, and he has done a lot for the CSI Bihar chapter. I must congratulate him and thank him for all that he has done. Thank you. Thank you, DP.
And in the same vein, I would like to thank my dynamic faculty, Abhinav Bhagat, who worked 4.5 years, 2 years as a treasurer, and this tenure 2.5 years as a secretary. Abhinav deserves a lot of applause. He keeps mum, but he does excellent work. Abhinav, and hope he will continue in the CSI and do activity and write the ascendancy to the president, Bihar CSI, and other things. So thanks everybody. With permission of the president, Mr. Dr. DP Singh, हम लोग चार्ज हैंडओवर करें ना यहाँ आप वहीं से इधर आइए फोटो लो भाई इधर आइए सर
ऑल दिख नहीं रहा
है बीपीसी ना दिख रहा है हम लोग दिख रहा है
कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है हमें तो कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है
अरे हम लोग का नहीं दिख रहा है
हम लोग तो दिख रहा है सर हम लोग को बहुत क्लियर दिख रहा है
यार ठीक है ओके नाउ बहुत अच्छा दिख रहा है
आप छोटा में आप बड़ा में है इसलिए अभी नहीं दिखा
चलिए तो कुछ बोल दीजिए ना
आप ठीक
सर बदल दिए सर हम लोग प्रेसिडेंट को चेयर
धन्यवाद सभी लोगों को। मैं बहुत कोई इच्छा नहीं रखता था, लेकिन मेरे मित्र बटेश्वर जी ने जब कहा कि आप इस चार्ज को लें, तो हमने कहा कि नहीं, यदि हमको अनकंटेस्टेड मिलेगा तभी हम जा सकते हैं, अदरवाइज हम कोई बहुत लड़ने नहीं जाएंगे इस पद के लिए। लेकिन इन्होंने या पूरे CSI के और लोगों ने मुझे इस योग्य समझा। यह दायित्व मुझे दिया जाए, जहां तक हो सके मैं इस दायित्व को पूरा करने की कोशिश करूंगा। आप सबका सहयोग उतना ही जरूरी है और आवश्यक है, और सब आशाओं के साथ में।
Dr. BP Singh को congratulations, and we wish him a very good tenure for presidency of CSI.
ये CSI की तरफ से BP सिंह साहब, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग टीम, मैं चाह रहा हूं कि द्रवेश झा को हम लोग को ऑनर करना चाहिए विथ बुके एंड वन शॉल फ्रॉम CSI organizing committee, because he did. Ramesh Jha, yes, he has done tremendous job, and so he should be honored by us as a token of this. My new president there. And if it is possible, Ramesh Jha is here. Ramesh Jha there. I want to see his face. Yes. I want that new president and all the organizing team give him big hands and supports, and he should be honored on this occasion. He has done tremendous, just like he's our right hand, he's our eyes open, lot of things he is. He has done very good job for us. Thank you very much, Mr. Darvish Jha, for all the cooperation, all the hard work that you have done. Without you, our CSI program would not have been so successful. Thank you very much, Mr. Trivesh.
Thank you. With the permission of the president, the TV.
I want to see Mr. Riaz. I have not seen him fully throughout the year. I have phone call. He was helping me very. Thank you, Riaz. Again, a token of love to him. I want to present Bhagalpuri silk to you too. But on my behalf, Mr. Riaz should also be given some honor, because he has our hands. He was our whatever information that we used to do. Mr. Riaz needs our thanks, special thanks, Mr. Riaz. Thank you very much for all the cooperation in the CSI activity. A few words, Mr. Riaz, want to listen to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
सर खत्म करते हैं हम लोग, प्रेसिडेंट साहब आपकी अनुमति से जी खत्म कर दिया। Thank you everybody. Thank you.
Sir. Vote of thanks will be given by our cardiothoracic surgeon and vice president Sanjeev. Sanjeev, please give vote of thanks. Yes, Dr. Sanjeev, please.
Sir, vote of thanks कोई औपचारिकता नहीं होती है सर। ये कोई भी इवेंट इतना सक्सेसफुल होता है तो स्वतः स्फूर्त होता है। तो कार्डियोलॉजिकल सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से मैं अपने कोर ऑफ हार्ट से आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं सर। DP सिंह सर हमारे प्रेसिडेंट, आपके लिए तो धन्यवाद कहना बहुत छोटी बात है। आपके उत्साह से और आपकी एनर्जी से पूरी CSI में एक नया संचार हुआ इस लास्ट ईयर में, और एक अच्छा कॉन्फ्रेंस हम लोगों ने देखा ऑनलाइन। डॉक्टर चटर्जी सर हमेशा साथ में रहते हैं। वो चटर्जी साहब का नाम और उनका उपस्थिति, चाहे वो क्लिनिकल काम हो या कैसे भी साइंटिफिक काम हो, उनके नाम से ही एक हम लोग में संबल आ जाता है, एक हमें बल मिलता है सर। और डॉक्टर VP सिंह सर, हमारे डॉक्टर VP सिन्हा सर जो अभी प्रेसिडेंट हुए हैं, डॉक्टर अरविंद और ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर निशांत त्रिपाठी, साथ में हमारे पास प्रेसिडेंट भारती, डॉक्टर BV भारती, इन लोगों ने इतना ये जो ऑनलाइन हुआ सॉरी, और इसमें कहीं कहीं मोनोटोनी भी लगता है, लेकिन इतने दिल से इन लोगों ने कॉन्फ्रेंस किया कि लगा कि हमें कभी कमी नहीं खली कि ऑफलाइन होता, हम लोग सब मिलते रहे, और एक बहुत सुंदर साइंटिफिक प्रोग्राम हुआ। साथ में हम अपनी माने CSI की पूरी टीम को बधाई देंगे सुचारू रूप से चलाने के लिए। और जैसा सर आपने कर ही दिया, दरवेश झा को और रियाज को और पूरी सेक्रेटेरिएट को। इप्का वाले थे सर, इप्का वाले ने भी काफी सपोर्ट किया।
डॉक्टर ए.के. झा को भी धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि एज ए vice president, he has done a lot of work about this publicity works. Whenever we need publicity in the papers, Dr. A.K. Jha was there. Thank you very much, Dr. A.K. Jha. Few words from you too.
And a special
Dr.
thanks
A.K. Jha.
to Dr. Nishant Tripathi from us.
Yes. Dr. Nishant, we have not seen such a towering, handsome personality doing the job so handsomely. And again, I will say, we shall give the farewell ovation, standing ovation to Dr. Nishant Tripathi. Yes, I want to give the excellent work done by you. Yes, Dr. Nishant.
Thank you very much.
What's biggest description about your activity, about your dedication, about your whatever you could do? That is the best presentation as a CSI कार्डिकॉन 2021। एंड लास्ट में एक बात है, ये दोस्ती हम नहीं तोड़ेंगे दम, मगर तेरा साथ न छोड़ेंगे। डॉक्टर डीपी से विल बी विद यू।
और आज फ्रेंडशिप डे भी है सर।
Yes.
Perfect occasion for friendship day.
Happy friendship day.
May our association go stronger and stronger. Thank you.
थैंक यू निशांत। निशांत को हम लोग की तरफ से एक विशेष बधाई पुनः, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी का सही रोल अदा किया।
विनय भगत को और डॉक्टर बीबी भारती सारा प्रोग्राम का मोर निशांत, अभिनव, बीबी भारती और अभी अरविंद जी सारे दिन कल से बैठे हुए हैं। It's a tremendous Arvind. Thank you.
ये जो है बीबी भारती और इनको अरविंद जी को भी जो है, और इनको बीपी सिंह, सारे को बीपी सिंह ने थ्रू आउट चेयरमैनशिप, मॉडरेटर सारा तो संभाल दिया। इन लोगों को भी जो है सम्मानित करना चाहूंगा बिफोर वी लीव। द्रवेश चादर है क्या? इन लोगों को भी सम्मानित कर दो मेरे सामने भाई। बीपी सिन्हा साहब, डॉक्टर बीपी सिंह, डॉक्टर बीबी भारती, डॉक्टर अरविंद, डॉक्टर अभिनव भगत, सारे को, चारों को, तीनों को सम्मानित कर दें, चारों को।
एकदम
यस। कहाँ एकदम स्टैंड स्टिल हो गया? डॉक्टर निशांत त्रिपाठी, आर यू लिसनिंग? लेफ्ट।
नहीं, दरवेश होंगे सर, दरवेश वहां पर होंगे।
मिस्टर दरवेश,
टेक्निकल फॉल्ट है।
नहीं, they need special honor. निशांत जी, आपका ये नहीं हो रहा है, उन लोगों को भी सम्मानित कर देते। बीबी भारती, डॉक्टर अरविंद, बीपी सिंह, अभिनव भगत, हम लोग सम्मानित कर दीजिए, सामने ही कर दीजिए तो अच्छा लगेगा हम लोग। हाँ, करवा। दिखता नहीं है, आप लोगों का चेहरा नहीं दिख रहा है। अच्छा ठीक है, जस्ट फ्यू सेकंड नहीं, वो भी नहीं होगा, फ्यू सेकंड। ओह अच्छा, ठीक है, लेकिन वो करवा करके ही क्लोज करिएगा। फोटो हाँ ठीक है। To make this Cardicon 2021 successful, I would like to honor our Chairman Organizing Committee, Dr. B.B. Bharti, with the shawls, Angvastram, and the bouquet. Ruke. Dr. Arvind Kumar and our great Arvind Kumar and Dr. B.P. Singh, unparalleled, unmatched. नो, सबको जो है अंग वस्त्र करके फोटो। हाँ,
डॉक्टर निशांत त्रिपाठी
एकदम देंगे। अरे बाप रे, मैं तो मैं हमेशा देते रहूंगा, बट आई वांट दैट मिस्टर द्रवेश आप इनको दीजिए, अभिनव भगत, बीबी भारती, ये बीपी सिंह एंड डॉक्टर अरविंद कुमार, चारों को हम लोग ये करके फोटो भेजिए, CSI बिहार चैप्टर में फोटो भेजिए, and then we shall confirm that yes, they have been honored for the great job done to make this CardicCon 2021 successful. Thank you. No, Arvind. So okay. Thank you. Oh, good night. Sir, good night, Chatterjee sir. Good night, Sanjeev ji. Good night, A.K. Jha. And we shall continue our associationship with you.
Good night, sir.
Thank you, Sanghmitra ji. Sanghmitra ji ko thanks for well done, very nice presentation throughout the day.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you. My heartfelt gratitude, sir, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Honestly, it was an amazing experience to work with all of you. Such a supportive and cooperative organizing committee I have never worked with, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Okay, again this it is over, and thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.